No, he does. He tries to kill Space Hitler. Until like an old man is like, if you kill Space Hitler, that would be great for me.
No, I'm talking about The Last Jedi when he Skype battles his way in.
Oh, yeah. I think that is a cool end to his arc. It's Luke saying, I've got to clean up my mess.
But he doesn't. He literally doesn't clean up his mess because he is a hologram projected across thousands of light years to show up, to not show up.
You gotta love to be gone back yet. Love is a Jedi, don't you grab it.
Than it does to like 90. I feel like 90% of the population like doesn't know who that guy is. They don't even know the meme. So it's like, oh yeah, did that Squid Man die? Is that the Squid Man from Rogue One? It's like, no, that's a different Squid Man. Okay. Right. Like I feel like me personally, I feel like he deserved better, but I don't know. I mean, I also care a lot about Wedge Antilles, and it's like, why?
All right, we are going live. We are ready to go. Ready?
Let's talk.
All right, so welcome to the Rambling Ranting Review Hour. I am here with a full panel of guests to talk about The Mandalorian. I'm here with my usual buddy, Gregoro. You're supposed to say something, Greg.
Oh, hey,
Hello.
What's up? How's it going? Sorry.
And I've also brought in two special guests. Filmmaker Boman Modine, who is currently working on the Warhammer animated series, and soon to be published in the Dark Anthology, as well as many other film projects.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Have you guys never been introduced before?
Yeah, no.
I spaced out for a second because I had something else on the background. So, but yeah.
And, of course, everyone's favorite uncle, the uncle we all wish we had, the internet's favorite homeboy, Asterios Kokkinos.
Hello, it's me, Asterios Kokkinos, responding to a cue. How are you doing?
So,
great.
Boman, you were famous for being one of the early Star Wars, anti-Disney Star Wars detractors, much to most people's dismay, to the point where you apparently insulted one of George Lucas's, you criticized Star Wars in front of one of George Lucas's sons, but I have not heard you say much about The Mandalorian, except for the fact that it reminded you of old-fashioned RPG quests in the early 2000s video games.
This is like every wall conversation I've had on Facebook, like brought to life. Okay. I don't know if I was famous for disagreeing with, with one of George Lucas's kids, but I don't really talk too much about The Mandalorian. First of all, I think The Mandalorian is a good step forward. A part of me wishes that it wasn't Star Wars necessarily, since it does such a good job of creating its own mythos and its own plot and everything. But yeah, I ultimately thought that the decision to make it 30-minute long chapters felt a little bit like it made me feel like I was watching my friend play an RPG taking place in a Star Wars universe pre-Episode 1, which is sort of a good thing. So I don't know. I mean, yes, I guess is that a significant answer, or
is that a big negative for you? Like the RPGX elements reminding of it?
Oh, yeah. I don't really like. I mean, I guess everybody levels up, right? I'm not the biggest D&D fan, and I realize that's. I don't know. Asterios, are you a big D&D person?
Yeah, I'm a very big D&D fan. Yes.
Cool. I was more of, I guess, a real-time strategy kid growing up. So
I would just like to point out that you did Dungeon Master your own variant D&D game with me and a few of our other friends.
Why you gotta out him like this?
Yeah, wow.
He's clearly trying to pretend like he doesn't know D&D.
You're the asshole that pissed somebody off and a liar. I've never been very much a fan of the D&D format of gaming, or really role-playing games in general. Like the notion that you can level up, I feel like has always been kind of weird to me. Like maybe I'm more of a Mario traditionalist. Like if you take a mushroom and you suddenly grow huge, or if you eat a flower and suddenly you can throw fireballs, like I'm okay with that kind of leveling up, but like incremental, like if I file something a million times, I will magically become the file master, and everything in my house will be sanded. You see what I mean?
Okay.
I've never liked the format of it. It's never that, and I'm not a big fan of fantasy. I enjoy science fiction stuff. So I guess when I say that The Mandalorian was a little bit like feeling, it felt like a role playing game. It's like he would do something and then he would receive a reward that he would then instantly use again. What was it? The Asterios, maybe you know what this is.
Whistling birds.
Whistling birds, yeah. Which I thought was kind of cool at first. It's like, oh, cool. Like your leftover. Tell me the armor. What was the armor again?
It's called Mandalorian Armor.
Yeah, I'll take it. He would do something.
That's what it's called. They're Mandalorians. They're wearing armor. You mean Beskar armor?
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
This priest's robe. No, it's not a priest's robe. It's a cotton tunic. Yeah, let's talk about the material. No, they're Mandalorians. But it's weird. They call him Mando, and it's like there's like 30 of them. There's like 30 Mandalorians. Like, that'd be like calling me Greeky. And it's, by the way, people do that. And I'm cool with it because it's cute. But if I were, let's say, a member of a more protected class, I don't think that would be as cool. Thoughts?
Yeah, the whole mechanics of it just felt really, I don't know. I don't pay anybody in brass, you know. I don't like have nuggets of titanium that I carry with me to go to hire a guy to I don't know. I guess retrieve a baby. Like I don't. It felt like a weird currency system, and then for that currency to then immediately get turned into weapons. I started it just felt like a reward system from a game, you know?
But
you didn't like that aspect?
Game aspect kind of like have that sort of like Pavlovian twitch where it's like fun to see him accomplish something. Oh, this is a scrappy guy, but he's getting better. He's getting the more badass armor. It's relatable in the probably nerdiest sense.
I don't know. Is that what it means to be a nerd? To like incrementally add to my collection so that I'm suddenly the most badass person that's also a bounty hunter? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I frankly don't. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm looking at my collection, and I guess it could be more awesome. But
how would you?
I don't know. I don't see it in my storyline. You know, like
how would you like him to like spend that currency that he wins from the bounties?
Strip club.
How would you like him to spend that currency that he wins, like that he earns from bounty hunting?
Strip club. You should have gone to the strip club.
That's reasonable.
We elect lady strippers. I mean, we've seen them. They're in Jabba's palace, which, by the way, at this point is long dead. There's got to be another hut that's like set up another strip club.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, what? Okay. So brass tacks. Like, I think the guy that executes on what does like a powerful, influential individual do that's not just a rich asshole is probably Rick from Rick and Morty, right? Mm-hmm. What does he spend his currency on? What does he spend his adventures doing? Experiencing more and experimenting more.
Yeah.
I don't know what the man like. What's the point of even being a bounty hunter? It doesn't seem to really like what. How are you like? Are you like if you watch a mafia movie, right? Like the objective of one of the characters is to just have like I just want a swimming pool on an island that I own, and I'm surrounded by women who love me, and I'm doing a bunch of coke, and then I die in the swimming pool. Like that's my dream, right? Like at least now you understand. Like that's why he's a monster or like a drug fiend. Like he's trying to build that weird dream. And I felt like the Mandalorian didn't really have a dream. On the flip side, I did think that Baby Yoda was a good, like, he kind of discovered like his motivation, right, to actually have an existence, and I did appreciate that. I just wish Baby Yoda was a little bit more than a plush toy. That's all. I mean, it was cute. I'm not made of stone. You know, like I see a tiny green thing, and yeah, my heart melts a little. But I just wish that he had eventually maybe said something, or I don't know, done like do all Yoda.
You can't expect a baby to say anything. Like this is a literal baby character.
But he's 50 years old.
It's a 50-year-old baby.
It's a 50-year-old baby.
Yeah, a baby doesn't have that much personality. It's there to be cute.
Just a sec. Okay. By the time a baby is a couple months old, like exponential growth doesn't mean that it stays in a infantile state. It starts knowing that, like, oh, if I scream, you'll come and feed me, right? So imagine 50 years of that. You're gonna pick up some more than just like, you know, raising your hand and force choking somebody to death. Like, unless of course the world was just littered with people this child has killed. I don't know. I guess
this child is learning the Force though as the adventure continues.
A 50-year-old baby. Like things don't stay in an infantile state. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's slowly growing. You could see that through the progression of the show. You see, like,
it's just a weird mechanic. It's like it just feels. You don't think it felt odd? I mean, am I alone? I could be alone. I liked Baby Yoda. The fact that it was a 50-year-old Yoda baby I kept wondering like more. Why? Why is it?
Well, I think it's just to show diversity of species in Star Wars universe. Well, like, you know, not all species mature at the same rate as humans.
Well, you did say it at first. It was like to give the Mandalorian an arc. At first, he has no purpose. He's just scrapping around in this miserable existence, getting these gold bars, getting these bounties, not really doing much of anything.
Excuse me, Beskar bars?
We talked about Beskar.
We've gone over this.
He's getting that Beskar bars. He's getting those suits of armor. He has this kind of like miserable existence. But the Baby Yoda gives him a purpose, the purpose that he did not have when he was, you know, just sort of being a... Although one thing I was kind of curious to ask, I think you all collectively, all three of you have read more Star Wars books than I have.
Yes.
Because the...
I mean, I have for sure.
Whoa! That's a big thing to someone.
I might be. I mean, the most.
You're absolutely right, but still, I would prefer you not assume that.
So my question though is, I assume, I know you've read a lot of Asterios, I know you, Boman, have read a lot of Star Wars books. How does the depiction of Mandalorian, is it like consistent? Because it feels like there are three different depictions of Mandalorian culture. There's the stuff that's shown in the Clone Wars / Dave Filoni animated cartoons. There's the stuff that's in the expanded universe, the Legends, and then there's the stuff that's being set from the, you know, the new Mandalorian era. Was this is the way something that was ever like present?
Well, first off, let's not forget that those Filoni cartoons are canon. They're not in the Star Wars Legacies toilet, and I will not hear them referred to as otherwise. So everything that happens in the Filoni cartoons is canon. Second, I mean, I don't know. It's like I think one of the things I like about how they portray Mandalorians is like they don't show us a ton of them. It's just like, there's just like one little tribe of them. And it's, you know, like we don't see like some sort of like grand Mandalorian council, or we don't meet like the president of Mandalore. It's just like, there's like these 12 people and, you know, they're trying to get a better life.
But I wish I could have seen more of that. I wanted to see more of what they're building toward. I mean, at some point.
Yeah, but the thing is, isn't that the mystery? Huh? If you knew everything, then it's like, I know too much.
But like, if you were able to have like a throwaway line of something like, because they do say one thing, right? I forget what the blue Mandalorian says. Like, this is why only one of us goes out one at a time, right? Something like that. Yeah, like I felt like, wait a minute, that's really interesting. Like, only one of you goes out one at a time. Okay. Then why is it Pedro Pascal? Why is he the one that's allowed to leave? Give me something. Give me. Like, are you guys being hunted?
I mean, clearly, yes. It's like no characters in narrative are like, we all need to hide and only one of us can go outside at a time. Why? It's chilly out there. But it's so cool. It's like, sums up. They don't want people. The Mandalorians don't want people to know where they are. Now, why? Who's hunting them? That sounds like a season 2 problem to me. One problem is there's a baby. Oh my God. You gotta help this baby. Oh shit. This baby reminds me of me. I was a lost baby, just like this baby. I'm Mando. I'm a baby too. Wah, wah, wah.
That's how I felt.
That's how a normal person would feel.
Well, presumably, aren't they also supposed to have like their own adventures? Assumingly, they're all like going out doing other bounty hunting stuff in other parts of the galaxy, and then I guess they go into the little the Mandalorian hovel.
The galaxy is a big place, is it not?
You know what the Mandalorian society reminds me of? It reminds me like a thieves guild society, like you would see in Skyrim. Something like that.
Or D&D.
They're very passionate about their profession and very withdrawn from the rest of society. So I think of it like kind of correlating more with that. And that's why I feel like, spending money or Beskar plates on armor and stuff is like, the assassins like taking pride in their profession and upgrading their arsenal to that respect.
Well, there's also a thing with the armor where he's like trying to become more of a full-fledged Mandalorian. And like the more armor he has, the more connected he feels to like his faith and his religion. There's like a bunch of shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess it's the sign of a good storyteller if I want more, right? I want to know more. I want to feel like there's more padding, right? There's more going on. I just feel like there could have been, and maybe it is a season 2 problem. I just think the brilliance of like New Hope, for example, is that they didn't know they were going to get an Empire Strikes Back, right? They thought it was a one-off. So they gave you enough answers to questions and enough loose ends to, I guess, tempt a financier or Fox to give them an Empire Strikes Back. I felt like they answered more, and the mystery. I don't know. I mean, do you like mystery? That I'm a fan of mystery, but I guess I want to have a little bit more meat on the bones before I let something go.
Well, let me say this, because I think that it's like, well, if there's mysteries, but also what I'm seeing is cool and good, then it's a lot easier. It goes down a lot smoother. Like, for example, in the original Star Wars, they referenced the Emperor and the Clone Wars and Alderaan and the Senate. And it's like, just in passing, we hear like, oh, the fucking Senate's been dissolved, and like, we hear about this dude's death. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's left open in those Star Wars movies, but you kind of don't care because it's like, oh shit, there's a moon, and it's a space station, and there's a hot lady, and there's a cool dude there, and there's like a grandpa with a laser sword. And I feel like it was kind of the same with the Mandalorian, where it's just like, yeah, there are a lot of questions, but also like there's a whole episode where he's got to fight a big rhinoceros. There's a whole episode where he's got to like escape 30 bounty hunters. There's an episode where they've got to teach a bunch of like hill people to fight an AT-ST walker. And so it's like, I just felt like I was consistently entertained. I think if I wasn't, that other shit would bother the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what is Beskar? What's its chemical composition? How come you don't have enough Beskar?
I'm not that nerd. I don't care about midi-chlorine counts or molecular structures for non-aerodynamic, whatever. I don't care. That stuff. That doesn't.
Sounds like you care a lot. I'm just putting that away.
Yes, I guess the thing is that flashy colors, and cool CG and things like that. I guess they don't. We've talked about this last time. I think that a better example of being able to accomplish that, like being able to throw cool stuff on the screen and answer questions, would be like J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, the first one. You know, it managed to catch up the viewer, throw some interesting stuff, like what they have, like robot cop in Iowa. You know, like they managed to do. He managed to do a good enough job of fulfilling world building, and then you know, pockets of mystery here, like what's a Klingon in J.J. Abrams' universe and things like that. And you'll find out in the second movie if this does well.
Can I interrupt? Can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
Like, I think the J.J. Abrams Star Trek had something going for it, which was that, like, it really didn't show us anything we didn't already know. You know what I mean? It's like, here's Kirk, here's Spock, here's the Kobayashi Maru, here's Uhura. She's a communications expert, and they're gonna fight some Romulans, and it's just like, I think one of the things that I liked a lot about The Mandalorian was that, like, it showed us new, interesting things in a familiar universe, whereas I feel like the JJ Trek was familiar things in a familiar universe, just done in a very glossy, awesome way. Like, I love that first JJ Trek movie, you know, but it's like, but I hate the second one. And it's kind of like, when you hate it, I don't want to stick out.
No love for Immortality, Triple Blood, and 9/11 Truther.
We don't have to drag the conversation.
But I like the third one.
The third one was fun.
That lady with the motorcycle was cool.
Well, unfortunately, no one else seemed to really give a crap about the third one, and by that time, it was like too little, too late.
Idris Elba playing the human that turned into an alien.
Yep, that was the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there was a third Star Trek movie. I lost track of the JJ Star Trek stuff. Like, I mean, I didn't even watch the first one, but you think it's worth it?
You'd love the first one. First was real good.
All right. I mean, maybe I'll watch it at some point.
I'm not saying that I guess this isn't like, I don't know if Isaac's brought me here to have like a flame war. But have you?
No, just fun, lively discussion, and you were already delivering beyond my expectation. Yeah.
We're just talking. We're just bros.
We're just chatting. We're chatting about stuff we like.
All right. But I mean, the thing is that okay. I think I said it last time. Asterios, I'll repeat it for you. I look at Star Wars as an umbrella term in the same way that I look at the notion of having an ex-wife, right? I don't hate her. I might not understand what she's doing right now. She's dating like a yoga instructor right now. So
is your ex-wife dating a yoga instructor right now?
Only in the metaphor.
This is a metaphor. Okay.
Working through a lot of things with Asterios.
Because those yoga instructors smell terrible. Like, yeah, they look good. They don't shower. They use Tom in everything. And then they're all just like, oh, I read half a book about Hinduism. But then when they start yelling, it's like, oh, now who's lost their cool? Yoga man. Like all these yoga men, they're all like peace, tranquility. Oh, but they get a little bit mad. They start calling names.
They like, don't wear shoes.
How about you shut up, you downward facing dumbass?
I think that it's an appropriate metaphor for Star Wars as dating a yoga instructor, but I digress.
Wait, who's the yoga instructor?
I mean, take your pick. But what I'm saying is that when I look at The Mandalorian, I don't see something that I can like burn down. It's a page, like I was saying, Pedro Pascal is one of my favorite actors. I think he did an excellent job. The cast is amazing. You can tell that each of the directors that were involved are really trying to, they're really trying to, they're swinging for the fences. You know, everybody. No one is. It's like the difference between like The Matrix and Matrix 2. Like when you see Matrix 2, everybody watched The Matrix too many times, and so they're like putting on all of these airs and like acting really, not human. And versus if you watch the first Matrix, it's just a bunch of normal people that live in an abnormal world. I feel the same thing about The Mandalorian. I guess what I found myself desiring and what didn't hook me, because that's ultimately what happened. I wasn't hooked like it seems like you guys were. Is that I don't think the 30-minute format worked. I felt like in some places it was a little bit rushed, and in others I felt like I was living in a place like what I'm in like the loading screen, right? For example, the prison episode. I felt like a lot of that could have been either truncated or lengthened, because it felt like I was waiting to get to the next part of the story.
That's an actually interesting question.
Yep.
Which episodes do you think were the most effective? Because some of them were 30 minutes, some of them were 40 minutes. I think one or two were an hour. The length was all across the map. Yeah, it wasn't like a consistent length for each one of them, because I guess in the world of streaming didn't really need to have a consistent limit. But yeah, the lengths varied.
Yeah, I do like the notion that you can create an episode any length, but then the 30-minute episodes were kind of uncomfortable. Like, especially having to wait a week for it. Maybe if they were all released at the same time, it would feel different. I don't know. What do you think, Asterios?
I thought it was a very interesting look into how action television was done in the 70s and 80s. Like, I'm not a huge fan. Like, I'm not going to go watch The Fugitive. Like, I'm not going to go watch The Incredible Hulk. Or Mannix, or Heart to Heart, like, or Gunsmoke, or Bonanza. But I'm watching this show, and I'm saying to myself, this is like all slow and weird, and I bet this is how TV was when Jon Favreau was growing up. Like the end sequence where there's like the closing credits where there's like a song and a bunch of drawings. That read super 70s and 80s to me.
Yeah, you're right.
And so, ultimately, like I didn't think the show was amazing. I think a lot of people say the show is amazing because they don't like SJWs who put a lady and a black guy in their movie. I think it's overcompensating. The Mandalorian's the best. Why can't everything be like the Mandalorian? And it's kind of like, my new girlfriend's the best. Why can't everyone be like her? Look at her hot face and cool boobs. She's nothing like Deborah, who, of course, in this kind of example here, ran off with a yoga instructor. But I watched it. I'm like, this is pretty good. I like it more than the Clone Wars, and I like the Clone Wars. You're
talking about the animated Clone Wars.
Yeah, the new one. I mean, I like getting Tartakovsky's Clone Wars. The new ones, it's like I'll be honest, none of this television, and really nothing since I've become like an adult. It's Star Wars has yet to like get me to the point where I'm like, oh, I have to be there on opening night. Like I saw what was the first one, The Force Awakens. I saw The Force Awakens, and I was like, that's a real good movie, and I bet kids had a good time at it. But I didn't like fall in love. And then I saw The Last Jedi, like that had some problems, and then the new one had problems, and it's like I didn't see Rogue One for like a month. And I didn't see Solo until like a camping trip last year. Like this new Star Wars, it's not like it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just that I'm getting older, but none of it seems like as urgent and vital and awesome. But then I think to myself, well, maybe it's just because I'm not 12 anymore.
Well,
so
I think about that too a lot of the time.
Greg, just a second.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
What does get you up to go to opening day, to go to, what's a franchise that's captured you?
That is a really good question.
Okay.
I guess I'd say Marvel movies. And I don't even know why. because it's just like, yeah, it's a formula. They got to like stop a glowing beam and find a rock and whatever. Like, I get it, and it's kind of funny and it's kind of sad. I don't know. Those Marvel movies, they're just really well made products. It's like really good fast food. It's like, yeah, I would like some more of that. In a way where Star Wars it isn't. The new Trek isn't. And I also watch like Star Trek Discovery and I watch Star Trek Picard. And I'll just let like a month go by before I check back in. But when I was a kid, it was like I would watch all of Deep Space Nine every week. All of Babylon 5 every week.
Deep Space Nine is the only DVD television show I bought for probably 9 years. Yeah, like before I bought anything else. Like Deep Space Nine was incredible. See, and that's a really interesting thing what you said with in terms of like the Marvel thing is because it is formulaic, right? I mean, you look at Thor and it's the exact same story as Black Panther.
Yeah.
Which and ultimately, the Infinity War thing where it's like he snapped his fingers, he killed everybody, half of everybody, and then someone snapped their fingers and they're all back. So, the stakes are never really that deep. And I would agree with you. I think that it's really well made fast food. It's like I'm in LA, so I guess that would be like one of the like the counter burger. Right? It's still fast food, but they've got curtains, and those curtains, they're really nice. But where I think that where I get off on Mandalorian, because it is a really, I mean, the technology going into it, I think the technology is incredible when it comes to Star Wars in general. They're always pushing the envelope. I mean, they're going to single-handedly change the way people make movies. Oh. Do you have to go?
I'm sorry. I'm looking for I don't know where my phone is.
Oh, that's.
I need my phone because someone's trying to text me and they need directions. And it's a disaster.
No.
But look. I have my headphones on. You were about to start to talk about that rear projection thing.
Yeah.
We're like, I'm on set, but I'm not. Like, and yeah, that's cool.
The camera's tracking here. There we go. The camera's tracking, and yeah. But we can shift gears. I love the idea of hijacking this conversation and asking anybody if you've ever experimented with Warhammer 40K. I think it has everything that young men and women can get on board with in terms of.
Boman, all my experiences with 40K.
Here's a big question, though. What do you think the 40K universe has that grabs you right now more than like what Star Wars or The Mandalorian has?
I'm sorry. What was the question?
It was about 40K and what does Boman find personally really super engaging in terms of what grabs him that because Asterios, your big observation of why Marvel keeps you excited is probably because the characters. They spend a lot of time getting the characters right, and because it's like this big sandwich that keeps on expanding where who's going to interact with this character? So even if you don't give a shit about Ant-Man, Ant-Man is going to hang out with the Falcon. So that gives me more invested value, and that's sort of like what keeps the that machine going.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody wants to have the super friend group, right?
Yeah,
I mean that's
essentially great. Yeah.
I mean, almost all of the Avenger movies has at least 20 minutes dedicated to them just hanging out with each other. Let's all take turns trying to pick up Thor's hammer. I wish I could hang out with people that cool. No offense, Isaac.
Completely understandable.
I could have a Thor hammer one day.
I mean, he does have you are with a man with a pickle Rick in his background, so I thought that would count for something.
No, that's a shameless plug right there. I'm not. That's bait. That's bait right there. I'm going to talk about. Okay. I guess to answer your question, Isaac, and I've been into Warhammer since I was probably 11 years old. And I would say, I would say that I was as big a fan of Star Wars.
Sorry.
Hello.
Girlfriend's chopping up something in the kitchen.
Wait. What is she chopping? We need to know. You tell us everything about this. Well, she can't be chopping garlic. You press garlic. Onions, maybe.
Oh, it's pad thai. Pad thai.
She's chopping the noodles?
She's chopping the noodles?
Chopping what?
No, I'm crushing some cashews.
Oh, crushing cashews.
Oh my God, you're gonna have that peanutty pad thai.
Yeah, it's a Baby Yoda special pad thai, actually.
Oh my God, I love it.
We love Baby Yoda, that's why.
You're gonna crush some frogs up into that B word? I love it. Well, hey, let's talk about Warhammer for a second. The Horus Heresy. Wow, what a heresy, right? What was up with that?
What?
The Horus Heresy. What was up with that? That changed the... What a heresy! Goodness!
I'm guessing, Asterios, that you know of Warhammer as like you know many nerd things, but maybe it never grabbed you the same way that other stuff has.
The Emperor, but he's like a skeleton man. He's like he can eat skulls, and then there's a librarian, and you're like, okay, this could be like some nerd librarian like reading books. Like, no, he's like casting spells. He's got like a staff with a skull on it.
He does.
I think one of the reasons Warhammer is not fucked up like Star Wars is that it's like, well, a lot of it is us. Like, it's us building our adventures, and we become like super invested in like what the Ultramarines are up to and what the Sisters of Battle are up to, because like we're playing them and like we're hanging out every night with our friends with these little guys and we're spending money. Like, we become invested in Warhammer in a way that I don't think we become in Star Wars. Like, yeah, you could play a Star Wars video game. You can even play one of those Star Wars miniature games where like there's X-Wings on a board and it's very much like Warhammer, but it's not like Warhammer. Warhammer's different.
No, that's I can tell, and by the way, yeah, I can tell a lot now as like if you play a certain army, I can tell a lot about who you are as a person. You know, the armies and the factions actually exemplify like things inside of you. And I guess the thing that happened, I guess, with Star Wars is that it ultimately stopped having that. I mean, there was a weird phase where people like, you know, wanted to be like Darth Vader. And it's like, that's kind of weird, man. Like, I remember being like 13 and like, who would want to be Darth Vader? He's cool. He's frightening. But do you want to be a mass murderer? You know, like, do you like somebody that would like fantasize about being a stormtrooper in 1998 was like, you should call that guy's parents. Like, something's up, you know? And then of course the Clone Wars happened and they made the stormtroopers into the like, for some reason, unbaked lesser nephew of the clone troopers. And the clone troopers are like, you know, beautiful Pacific Islander warriors that are, you know, all based off of the ultimate bounty hunter, who's also Boba Fett's dad. And it's suddenly, you know, they made it so that it's okay for every faction to have good guys and bad guys working for it, which diversified a lot of the toy lines, right, and a lot of the video game lines. But I think what it ultimately did is that, I mean, every new Star Wars, the coolest thing that happened in Mandalorian, in my opinion, was you saw stormtroopers. And the stormtroopers are beat up, their armor's chipped, everything's falling apart, and they're assholes, you know? And all talk about mystery, all I wanted to do was like, what happened to these guys, you know? And everything that the new Star Wars movies brought me was like different types of stormtroopers, like tank trooper and flame trooper and jetpack trooper. And it really didn't mean anything. It just was like, okay, sure. But all I know is that Finn used to be one of these guys. And I guess they're all like kidnapped orphans who are now mass murderers. Like,
and that's like terrible. That they're like, yeah, these are child soldiers. Like, oh, well, let's kill like 5,000 of them.
Yeah.
Let's blow up 50 ships that have them on. It's like, why did you humanize them? And like, they were clones. Like,
and like clearly you can rehabilitate them because like in the last movie, a ship of them crashes, and they all turn into people from like Burning Man, and they're like really like. Did they did stuff with horses? Like they were like inside of every stormtrooper is like a
Lost Boy.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, Lost Boy.
Okay, right. When Finn teamed up with the other former stormtroopers.
Yeah, Lando Calrissian's daughter, apparently.
That's not her daughter.
It is in the script. That's Lando. Apparently, there's a whole scene where Lando realizes that's his daughter.
Really?
Yeah,
Are you serious?
Oh, man, I only read the tabloids. I don't invest. But I wanted to talk about something you brought up a little bit earlier, Asterios. And I know that it's a supercharged word in this age of, I don't know what you want to call it. Let's call it militant nerdisms, of which I think I have, a subscription to. Social justice warriors, right? That's something you brought up earlier on. And I don't blame social justice warriors for, well, I'll just pick one person, Rey, right? I just blame not enough time with the script and two directors who either didn't like each other or refused to communicate their ideas to each other. Blaming it on social justice warriors, that's kind of like blaming a guy in Texas for like waving the Confederate flag. He's not, you can tell him he's a racist, but he has no concept, no greater idea that like he's coming off as a total dick. He just thinks he's for state rights. People that liked Rey, and I've had plenty of conversations and arguments and been thrown out of plenty of Barnes and Nobles as a result. But like people that like Rey are just people that want a girl to be a badass. And I don't know if that makes you a social justice warrior, but I will say that anybody that doesn't think that Princess Leia was a badass and who wasn't a big part of the Star Wars mythos is not a nerd. It isn't even a fan of Star Wars. Like you're just someone enjoying content. Like you're not invested, But I wouldn't blame social justice warriors for Star Wars.
Fuck. You know what? I thought Rogue One did a better job of making a badass female character than, the sequel trilogy did.
Yeah, it's a pity they didn't cast Daisy Ridley. She's an amazing actress,
Yeah, and I do blame the script for that, honestly. If Daisy Ridley was in Rogue One, she might have even done she probably would have done even a better job, maybe.
I mean, the thing is Rogue One was a one-off, right? They had to build their world, describe what happened, and get out by the end of 2 hours.
Yeah.
As a result, you have an arc. There's a very clear story. She's a kid who lost her parents that became an orphan to basically Osama bin Laden, and then eventually has to be the hero at the end of the story. I don't like the way a lot of it was executed, but I can tell you the motivations of almost everybody in that movie. I don't know what the motivations of Rey is, other than pick up lightsaber,
befriend all the former main characters of the original trilogy.
Sure.
It's like she was basically buddy with every single main character from the original trilogy. To show oh, I'm cool. I'm hanging out with the former cool kids, and now that makes me cool.
You ever see a movie called The Rundown?
No.
The Rock? That was the one with Rock and Sean William Scott, right?
Yeah, and okay, there's a moment where he's walking through a bar, and Arnold Schwarzenegger does a cameo, where all he says is, have fun.
Yep.
And a lot of people, when they watch that movie and when they reviewed that film, viewed that as the moment that Arnold Schwarzenegger was passing the torch to the next generation of action heroes, right?
Yeah.
I really do wish that they had taken a page out of that. I don't need to know, honestly, I don't need to have somebody befriend every character from a previous trilogy in order to give them cool factor. Like, like Han Solo could have just been like, "Oh, nice shot, done." That's all you needed. You didn't need to be like, "I knew your father, who was a Palpatine clone, who had an illegitimate child with like a friend of the family, and then we were all involved in dumping you on this planet trash, and I lost the keys to the Millennium Falcon." You know, like I didn't.
Well, that's not what happened, but it was.
It is what
it's
happened.
basically what happened.
No, that is what happened.
No, she was dumped on the planet by her parents, who.
Yeah,
her father was Emperor Palpatine's son.
No, it was his clone. You got to read.
Yeah, clone.
Yeah,
Same thing though. Same thing. It's like his. Like they retconned the fucking Rise of Skywalker movie after it came out. Like,
anyway, the long and the short of it is, I don't blame social justice warriors. Social justice warriors is kind of like flat earthers, right? I hear the term a lot. I don't know if I put too much sand into it. I don't know. Maybe you have a different experience, Asterios, and I know lots.
Well, yeah. I mean, actually, I think you may have misinterpreted what I was saying. I feel like angry nerds blame social justice warriors.
I see.
For everything, really.
Everything.
And so something that I think angry, like hyper masculine wannabe nerds do is they'll be like, I don't hate all lady characters. I love Alita Battle Angel. And it's just like, it's like movie about this like doe-eyed robot made by James Cameron, like based on an anime. And they'll be like, yeah. And then they'll be like, and so I think they kind of applied a similar thing with The Mandalorian, where like they're like, it's not that the new Star Wars movies aren't bad because they've got a lady in them. They're bad because they're bad. And it's like, I think you kind of don't like them because they've got a lady in them. Like, finding other shit to say. But that's just my take.
Sure. I agree with that.
Well, it's kind of funny.
Some people will outright say that that's the reason why they don't like those movies. And then in that case, it's just like, oh, right. I guess conversation is kind of over, so whatever.
Well, it also comes like, there's those like Christian propaganda movies that everyone kind of loves to harp on, like God Isn't Dead.
Wait, we just shifted gears. Go on, I'm sorry.
What?
God's Not Dead, starring Kevin Sorbo.
You never heard of that movie? God Isn't Dead? I think it has a sequel.
Wait, Kevin Sorbo?
Hercules.
Yeah, he's in it. He's like the evil liberal professor who's like an atheist. You've never heard of that? You never heard of this?
And eventually, as he's dying, he's like, I was wrong. God's real. I'm dying. God, help me, God. And it's like, it's great. It's like God's Not Dead is just a version of that email forward that boomers send around about how like a military man punched out a professor. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'll look it up.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but the point I was trying to make with God Isn't Dead is like it's a famous like Christian propaganda movie, and everyone loves to sort of like poke fun at or rip on it because it's so ham-fisted. And
should make fun of a movie.
Yes, it is perfectly mockable. It is 100% mockable.
You know what? Let me backpedal for a second. At the same time, sure, I also understand people might want some kind of movie that represents the boomer email about punching liberal professors who say that God might not be real. Sure, everybody needs their niche.
I just sent you guys in the chat. You guys have the chat open?
They can. I cannot open up the chat unless I completely screw up the window overlay.
Okay. Well, look.
Oh my God. Can I read this?
Yeah, that's why I want you to read it because it's great.
All right.
Go back to Baby Yoda.
Okay, first of all, let me begin with just a brief description. We have an all black background. It is white text, and there is just a giant tattooed white guy's fist flexing a huge muscle with U.S. screens. I think it might be either the Statue of Liberty or an eagle. I don't know. Leading to his fit. Okay. All right. A Marine was taking college classes between his deployments to Afghanistan.
Go on.
Moonlighting.
Wait, one of the courses
had a professor that was an atheist and a member of the ACLU.
Bro, bro, that's the heel.
Whoa. Okay. One day, the professor shocked everyone by walking into class, looking up and stating, "God, if you are real, I want you to come down and knock me off this platform. I will give you 15 minutes." Several minutes ticked by in silence. When the 15-minute time almost expired, the Marine gets up from his seat, approaches the professor, and punched him in the face, knocking him off the platform and out cold. The Marine simply went back to his seat. The professor came to, visibly shaken, and asked the Marine, "What the heck did you do that for?" Very calm reaction. The Marine said, "God was busy protecting America's military who are out protecting you. So he sent me to fill in."
I don't think I've seen that special meme.
I have not seen this ever. And I will make this my face.
And literally, this meme got turned into the movie God's Not Dead. Because it stars Kevin Sorbo as a liberal professor who goes like, "God is dead, and if you don't agree, I'm failing you out of my class."
Oh my god!
And people are like, "But I need this to graduate fucking code so I can feed my baby my diploma." And he's like, "No, no, no." He's like hit by a car. And as he's dying, he's like, "I was wrong, God, you're clearly alive. You sent me down the wrong path."
So the reason why I brought up God Isn't Dead is that, like, you know, as you're bringing up the SJW, people say like, "Oh, SJW has ruined Star Wars," and I think the criticism comes where they like feel like, and most mainstream movies are apolitical, but they feel like there's an agenda that's kind of being slammed down their throats, and if it's a bad movie like The Birds of Prey or whatever,
any movie that lasts longer than it's run in a movie theater. So people that buy the DVD. People that binge watch it again, people that go back and watch something after 10 years, every single one of those movies, and I formally challenge the internet, all of them have some kind of an agenda or something that they're saying.
Mm.
What would be the point of watching something that doesn't have a message that it's conveying or a political stance that it's taking? I mean, let me put it this way. To all because we've had like a rise in, let's call them supremacist nerds as of late.
Okay. Yeah.
There's been like this really weird phase that we're in right now. And if you think at any point in time that it's happening in Warhammer 40K a lot, you know, where a lot of Trump supporters who are like, "Yeah, this is what we need to kick off the utopia that is Warhammer 40,000.
Well, aren't there like two kind of? There's like the ironic Trump is the God Emperor who are like,
yeah. But then there's the people that went and took it, you know, seriously. You know, oh, Orange Man bad, like, you know, and things like that. But I don't think that there has ever been anything worthwhile that doesn't make some kind of statement. And Warhammer 40K, Star Wars, Star Trek, all of them used to say something. It's when they stopped saying something that they lost all flavor and have now fallen by the wayside. Marvel, probably the reason why Asterios likes Marvel so much is because, like, what is the main takeaway of every single Marvel movie? Greg, I'll ask you.
I like Marvel too. I think Isaac does as well. I think we all like Marvel.
Sure, but what's the big takeaway from every single Marvel movie? Same one.
That J. Jonah Jameson is a member of the alt-right. That's right. We all look at Spider-Man 3 is going to have, like, InfoWars Jameson. Tune in.
That heroes come in all different kinds of forms.
Sure.
Maybe. Like something like that.
No, wait. I've got it. That you can't pick your family, but you can pick your friends. And sometimes your friends become your family. And sometimes blood is thicker than water, but nothing's thicker than friendship.
That sounds like some Godfather mafia stuff too.
You win. I crown you winner of this conversation. Yeah, no, it's true,
right? Yeah, exactly. Scarlet Witch. Oh, I don't have a family. They were all Russian. Blah blah. Who's my family? I'll tell you who. Steve Rogers.
Sometimes I just want to punch you in your perfect teeth. But
yeah, exactly. The brothers fight.
Yeah, brothers fight. You know, like see that's, and I think that's why ultimately Marvel movies are so palatable and so enjoyable, because how are you going to argue against that? I was like, I hate friendship. Friendship's I came to this movie alone. I stole the popcorn. You know, like it's just it's like, how do you argue against that? And that's why I think that it remains why you like it so much. And that's why I enjoy them. I don't really run to the movie theaters to see them anymore. That's also because I think that after, what is it, 10 years? It was 10 years.
10 years, over 10 years of Marvel movies.
I'm satisfied, right? I got something that in the history of film, in the century that we've been making movies, I'd never seen anything like that. I'd never seen an arc. Like, if you watch, you can go back to the first one. People do. You can go back to the first Iron Man, and you are as satisfied about his trajectory through the entirety of the movies until he spoiler alert, he dies at the end.
Oh shit.
I think most people who care about Endgame aren't worried about spoilers at this point. But go on with your thought process.
People watch them. But I guess that's where Star Wars needs to figure itself out.
Well, because bringing it back to the
what is Star Wars saying anymore?
Well, all right. So that brings up to a big thread about connecting it back to the Mandalorian. That, it seems like you're all in sort of agreement. You enjoyed it on a certain level, but at the same time, you sort of feel like, this is B- to B+ at most entertainment, and we're giving it a pass just because, from a creative sense, most of the other movies have kind of been all over the map in terms of not having a lot of communication between the directors and the writers and whatnot, and having different missions. But the Mandalorian has the central message of fatherhood and companionship between Mando, Pedro Pascal, and Baby Yoda. And Baby Yoda is the big sensation, the big marketing thing. So is that sort of like a new thing? And you could say that this is like maybe the natural course if like Star Wars is about like a teenager finding himself and his ultimate destiny in the galaxy. Now the Mandalorian reflects the boomer generation who've all grown up and are ready to have their own kids. And now they're seeing that sort of journey of parenthood reflected through...
Wait.
I definitely don't see it like that.
What'd you say?
The Mandalorian's not a boomer.
Oh, age-wise, he's like 30 to 40 years old, isn't he?
30 to 40 years old.
He's like midway millennial, midway boomer.
Well, have you ever heard of there's baby boomer, then there's boomer. Asterios, how would you explain the 30-year-old boomer meme with the Monster Energy drink?
Oh, just that, I don't know, there's all these dudes that are in their mid-30s that, kind of pose about being old and shit. They're just, a bunch of weirdos. And, they're trying to accelerate. They're trying to become their dads way too fast, and it's creating, a whole generation of Ted Mosbys from How I Met Your Mother.
What?
So on the internet, technically we're all boomers.
I have no words. This doesn't happen to me very often. Am I Ted Mosby?
Yeah, we're all Ted Mosby. Because guess what? Guess what Ted Mosby named his son? Luke. And there's a whole episode of How I Met Your Mother about, they watch the Star Wars trilogy. They're always watching the Star Wars trilogy. They love Chewbacca. And it's just oh my God, grow up. And when are we going to grow up? I mean, think about it. The four of us are spending our Wednesday night talking about Star Wars and Warhammer on YouTube into computer cameras. We could be out there meeting the loves of our lives, curing cancer. There's a national pandemic. We could be out there feeding the homeless. Oh, here's what I think about Marvel. It's When are we gonna grow up?
I think in a way we are feeding the homeless, like the people who are from Star Wars content. But
oh yeah, because there's definitely not enough Star Wars content on YouTube.
We're feeding people's minds. We're not feeding them like in a literal sense.
I'm bored, and Isaac told me that he knew this cool guy named Asterios. Had a good time. That's you.
It's fun. We're having a good time.
I'm having a great time.
I might
forget the Grim Reaper's icy hand. It's tapping. Look, here's what you got to think. When we're on our deathbeds, are we going to think about the time that we argued over Pedro Pascal's age? Or are we going to think about the night that we went out there and did something legend? Wait for it. Dairy. Suit up, boys. I'm Barney Stinson, and this is How I Met Your Mother. But the only one that gets these references.
No, I know.
I think I saw that show a few times.
It's a great show.
Okay, wait a minute. All right, I don't want that to be a footnote. I want to follow that.
Well, I will tell you, the chat said this is indeed a good time. But go on with your topic.
Of course, it's a good time because I'm here. I'm keeping things light and fun, just like they do every week on How I Met Your Mother. You know, they all come from families that aren't great, but they find that their real family is their friends. You know what another show like that was? Friends.
Yes. I just connect that with anime, that whole ideology. Just like, you build your own family, your nakama kind of thing.
Wait,
it's a very anime thing.
Goku and Krillin are closer than brothers.
What was the? So, do you think that's a reason why it resonates, though? The idea that the Mandalorian has like the surrogate child, and now the generation that grew up with Star Wars that has their own children has this sort of like parent-child relationship to see go on through over the course of like 10 years and 10 different seasons, since this probably is going to go on forever.
I think you're making some very good points, and I think that Baby Yoda does resonate to a large portion of the audience who's like, biological clock is ticking and they're not getting any skinnier. So it's just like, how are you going to have a baby looking like that? Looking like Jabba the Hutt. But the other thing I like about Baby Yoda is it's really easy stakes, because it's like
a baby.
Every week you tune into Mandalorian and you're like, oh my God, I hope this baby's going to be okay. This baby that the whole universe is hunting because they want its blood. And it looks like a guy I like. It looks like Yoda. The thing I like about Baby Yoda is that it's a brilliant MacGuffin. It's like everybody wants that baby.
Yep.
And who wouldn't want him, even if he didn't have magic blood?
Exactly. The magic blood is a bonus.
Yeah. Yeah, it does cute things. It keeps your, it's like the best parts of having a baby and a cat all wrapped in one.
It's exactly
I had never thought of that, and thank you for bringing that up. That's really interesting. But I guess so. Here's the question: where do you go with that story? Because eventually, I mean, unless we're going to enter into this weird, you remember Justin Timberlake when he was I think 13, 14, and
all I think about.
And women of a certain age, usually between 35 and 45, had Justin Timberlake on their desk or on their desktops. Mm-hmm. It was I noticed it a lot because my one of my counselors in college had it, and I always wanted to ask, why do you have Justin Timberlake on your are you related? But I of course never asked. And then I started noticing it everywhere. But I think the reason why everybody really liked him is that, kind of talented youth, very innocent. They traveled with him through his teenage years. He got a girlfriend, all of these things. A lot of people really enjoyed going on that coming of age of this young man. Where do you? I mean, are we going to see teenage Yoda? Are we going to get a teenage Groot Yoda? Where he becomes he ages into kind of like the dick years where he force chokes people just because they won't buy him, a beer or something. Like, where do we go? Where does he?
I think he's going to drop him off at a daycare place at some point,
Well,
and it's just going to be Mando.
Well, the overall arc is supposed to be like he brings him with his people, and that could go on for as long, forever, essentially. And that's an interesting question: is like, will Baby Yoda actually age? And the Disney answer is no, because he's a forever character, and there's a story lore justification that, for all we know, there's a story lore justification for why he can perpetually be a baby. We don't know when Baby Yoda becomes like a child that can talk. Is it when he's 60? Is it when he's 70 or 100? So essentially he could be a baby forever, but it's an interesting comparison when you think about Baby Groot, who got an entire, adult to adolescent arc and is also highly marketable and kind of, but Baby Yoda stole his thunder.
I love both babies though, but for different reasons.
I do love Baby Groot.
I'm sorry, what?
I do love Baby Groot.
Yeah, Baby Groot's great. I like Baby Groot a lot. I like the X-Babies, obviously. They're adorable. Mojo created them for evil, but there was good inside them.
The X-Babies?
You don't know about the X-Babies? All right, I'm sending you guys another link.
Is this like Muppet Babies for X-Men?
In the 90s, they were the X-Babies. You don't know about the X-Babies originally? Oh, they were invented by Chris Claremont, the teenage editor of Marvel? All right, hold on. I'm sending you guys a link to the X-Babies. Everybody's going to learn about the X-Babies. All right.
Oh, my God.
I don't know if they were as popular as Baby Groot.
Yeah. But if you think about this, 15 years ago, Groot wasn't popular. Groot only got popular because of, Abbott and Lansing? Landit and Abding? Who's those two writers that put the new Guardians together?
James Gunn and the other person who did the script for that before?
Before them, Lanning, Abbott. Hold on, I'll look it up.
I'm just looking at the X-Babies images right now. Looks really cool.
Yeah, they're cool. Yeah, exactly. Describe what you're seeing.
It reminds me of
picture.
It's like Muppet Babies, but with X-Men, basically.
Yeah.
You know Muppet Babies?
Yes.
Muppet Babies, they'll make your dreams come true.
Muppet Babies, they'll something on you.
When your world looks kind of weird, you weren't there. Just
close your eyes and make believe. You could go anywhere.
Muppet Babies, they'll make your dreams come true. And Nicole Perlman was the writer that was looking for you.
This is real boomer. This is like real boomer cartoon stuff.
Wait a minute, I'm not a boomer though. That's the thing.
You're an internet boomer. You're a Monster Energy drinking internet boomer, not baby boomer.
Boomer.
It's generations, and I just got over the fact that I'm a millennial because the correct date is 1983. I'm solidly there. I use the term "okay boomer" enough that I'm a boomer.
All right,
okay,
fair enough. It's more like internet meme boomer.
It's Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning. They're the two guys that put Groot and Rocket, they put the team together in the comics in 2008, and then eventually the female screenwriter, I forget her name,
Nicole Perlman.
Yeah, what was it one more time?
Nicole Perlman?
Yeah, Nicole Perlman. And then she started taking the property around in-house, and then she later wrote Captain Marvel.
I had no idea that it was Dan Abnett because Dan Abnett is the architect of modern Warhammer 40K.
What?
Oh, snap! Making connections all the time. Go on.
No, I mean, he's singularly... Yeah, here, wait.
I mean, that would make sense because, the Guardians of the Galaxy engage in a lot of cosmic warfare in the comics.
Yeah, no, he created First and Only, which was Black Library's one of their first novels. Yeah, wow, I had no idea that he's an incredible writer. I grew up on his books.
Yeah, I'm on his Wikipedia page here. It says he's written for both Warhammer Fantasy and 40K novels. That's awesome.
No, he's an amazing.
Cool.
He's kind of like the Godfather over there. Like I mean, he's extremely like he's everybody holds him in really high regard. Yeah, no, that's amazing. Okay, cool. No, I like that. I like that.
It's a cool guy.
My other, I think also one of the reasons why I got off board with Star Wars is also when they blew up the expanded universe, because Timothy Zahn was with the Thrawn trilogy. I did learn to read on that book, and when they blew it up, I don't know. It just, I mean, you I guess when you're a fan of something, it carries you, right? It motivates you. There's a kind of momentum to fandom or your interest levels, whatever you want to call it. And if somebody just comes in and retcons everything, like it kind of cuts you off at the legs, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I was really attached to that continuity.
Hypothetically, though, do you think you would have been less offended as like hardcore Star Wars fans if they maybe didn't so much or they retconned it, but they said that like we're going to look into these books and take elements and rework, because like all the Marvel movies, they're not direct adaptations of any of the comics. They're just like pick and choose various storylines and then the Black Panther movie is not the definitive Black Panther story. It's just like a recombobulated elements from various Black Panther comic books.
But even that's more faithful to the old Marvel comics than what we got with the Star Wars movies.
But Admiral Thrawn came back in the Rebels cartoon.
Sort of. But Rogue One, I'd say, was closer to Star Wars book content than anything we've got with the sequel trilogy.
I don't know. If you're going to blow something up, blow it up. Don't like go in after the fact and try to like, oh, these pipes were really good. Oh, if we can salvage these, we can build a new building, and the building will have great plumbing. Like, just let it, like, either kill something or don't. Don't kill something and then harvest its organs. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
For me, the thing is like, so like they're gonna get rid of all the comics and all the novels, but the prequels are still in continuity. It's like, if you're gonna flush it, like how about you flush that like terrible shit? And they're like, no, we can't. People would get upset, and it's like, what? It's like, yeah. Well, people got upset that you flushed all their comics and toys and books down the toilet too. It's just less people got upset. Oh, don't get me started.
You can't pick. Yeah. Once again, if you're going to blow, and that's one of the reasons why, I think that other franchises handle this better. Star Trek, you're in a different timeline. Don't even worry about it. This is an alternate timeline where this happened and this didn't happen, and don't worry, you're fine. This is Kirk now. Kirk is this way in this timeline.
The Kelvin timeline, as it's known.
Yes, it is.
It's got its own name for it?
Yeah.
Kelvin timeline, yes.
And it's officially dead when there was the last piece of media was a book that was released for it, so it's probably gone. But, so anyway, continue with your line of thought.
Yeah, so it's just... And with 40K or really fantasy, it's it's the warp. With Terminator, it's a different timeline. What is it? And I guess Marvel benefits from the fact that it's been around for so long that you would have to be like a master level historian to be able to understand every single path and alternate story, and this author took it this direction and this author took it in that direction, and they didn't see eye to eye, but they both had their own like chain of comic book storylines and stuff like that. And the movies are really just a distillation, like you were saying, Greg, a distillation of a couple storylines. Mm-hmm. I mean, Civil War, the movie, is nowhere near as bloody or as, and I loved Civil War, but it's nowhere near as awful as the comic book Civil War, and it just benefits from living in that environment. I think that they tried to do. I think Disney saw what they did with Marvel and were like, "Oh, people will just get on board then." And it didn't do a very good job of filling in the foundations of what was going on. And they spent $4.5 billion. I'd be angsty to try to recover that kind of investment too, I guess.
They didn't respect the material that came before it.
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that they didn't respect it, but I will say that they didn't know how to handle it. I don't think that they knew what they were buying. You know, they bought your, you know what? They bought your grandpa's car, and then they went drag racing with it. And they didn't realize that like 6 or 7 races into it, when the wheels are falling off, everything's busted, that you're going to take a look at it and go, oh my God, what'd you do to my grandpa's? I mean, that sounds like an episode of How I Met Your Mother.
But okay, wait. This argument about like Star Wars being busted before Disney got it. Like, I disagree with this, because you could say the same thing about Marvel and it's like discombobulated, like continuity, like universe 121 bullshit, and then another universe there. Like, you could still like pick and choose all these different like Star Wars content and stories and make something similar. Well, that you did with Marvel.
The folks on Red Letter Media have always made the argument that like Star Wars innately isn't as pliable as something like Marvel, where like, Kevin Feige says that like, oh, well, each one is its own little genre. Captain America, Winter Soldier is it's a thriller. Civil War is a war movie. Each one is its own little subgenre. Star Wars, it's a little... Well, The Mandalorian, I guess the benefit is that each one has its own sort of little theme, but, like, the main saga is a little less pliable than that.
I mean, I agree with it. Every franchise is a unique and beautiful snowflake that you have to care for, otherwise it'll melt. So, yeah, I mean, you can't treat one thing like the other and just expect the same result. Unless the result is you just want to make money. And maybe that's what is at the root of a lot of... I mean, look, the nerds, just as Asterios very boldly said, we are sitting around on a webcam or a show waxing poetic about nerd. But nerd culture won, right? I mean, we won.
Yeah,
we won the war.
It's now pretty much the dominant thing in all of pop culture. And nobody ever seems to
especially during the pandemic. Like, oh my God. Like, no more sports? Oh, yes. Fuck that.
But yeah, no, like, you take a look at what's going on and just where our society has gone. And nerd society just seems to fit a lot better with what people like. I don't think I'll ever grow up. I think I'm always going to like little tiny plastic miniatures, which I build and paint. And I think I finally... been accepted by a society of people that I can do something like that. So if we've won, the only way for a capitalist society like the one that we live in can function is if people keep buying stuff. So that means that if there's 50 nerds who all buy little miniatures, right? Buy these things. Well, if we just keep on pouring research and development and advertising into that, theoretically, that group of people will just keep buying stuff. And so then we become less beholden to why we're nerds, and we just become collectors, right? And the people that are creating our content, they become like our pusher, And so it doesn't really matter what... You can slap Star Wars onto anything. If there is a group of people who will just go in and buy whatever it is. You got a new Stormtrooper... You got a new lightsaber. I mean, there's an entire place you can go to Disneyland and build your own lightsaber for like $100 or something. And I know people who have done it like 6 or 7 times. So that's not a knock on them or anything, but like it feels as though the people that were shepherding your imagination got bogarted by the people that are trying to keep the economy going. And I think that's where I got disenchanted with Star Wars, ultimately, is that it felt too much like somebody trying to sell me something, as opposed to like, I mean, I've said it to you before. I grew up wanting to be Luke Skywalker. I think everybody grows up wanting to be like Luke Skywalker, and everybody grows up wanting Han Solo to be their best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Asterios, your day job is as an ad man. What do you think the line is between selling and versus sincerity?
Well, I mean, I think you'd be an idiot not to say that, like, Disney saw a franchise. Disney wanted another Marvel. And they were like, well, we can take this Star Wars thing and we can make another Marvel. It's why, like, immediately they were like, we're going to make 12 movies. And, like, they didn't even stop to think to themselves, like, does anybody want to see the adventures of young Han Solo? They were like, yeah, we can do that. Like, we can figure out how the Death Star plans got there. I watch some cartoons and shit. And, like,
But those are like from the books as well. Like we saw the Tales of Han Solo books. We saw, books talking about getting the Death Star plans.
Screen.
I agree, but I think that when you read the adventures of young Han Solo in a novel, it goes down a lot smoother than watching some kid do a Harrison Ford impression. And the other thing is, like, yeah, I already played Dark Forces. You know who got the Rebels, the Death Star plans? Me, Asterios. Like, I got them those plans. Like,
man, I spent
way of Palpatine.
Why didn't they cast us for the Death
I know.
Star?
We'd be great at that. Like, so I think the reason that Star Wars now has to literally do another reboot and be like, hey, there's this thing called the high period. It's called the high years.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The High Republic. Have you heard about the High Republic?
Well, the High Republic.
I know a couple of the writers, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, this takes place a long time. It's like, hey, you kids keep tweeting us about something called KOTOR. Okay, this is a KOTOR. It's KOTOR. It's like a KOTOR thing. And what they did was when they figured out the High Republic, they did what Marvel Comics does, which is they brought like 30 creatives in. They sent them all to a mansion for a week, and they had them all eat nice food and get massages and like beat out stories for this thing called like the High Republic. And it's like, man, no one at Disney knows what they want to do with that thing, so they keep just like trying to. They're like, maybe JJ will know what to do, and then it's like, yeah, I guess he didn't. And they're like, maybe this other guy will know what to do. What, Rian Johnson? And it's like, well, he doesn't want to do what this other guy wanted to do. And it's like, but it's just, oh my god. And then what they with the Han Solo, when they fired the directors halfway through, and it's just like no one. Here's what Disney wants: money. Like, they don't want to tell these stories; they just want the money part.
Well, that's an interesting thing. That's like the kind of like height of nerd cultures. That ultimately nerds want to spend money, but we don't want to like make it feel like you're selling us stupid products. We want to make it feel like you're engaging us in a story, and if you do that a good job, then we'll just give you your money and become ATM machines for corporations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
well, no, because I guess the reason I'm bringing it up is like you're saying how much more charming it was to have the Han Solo book of young Han Solo ages ago, and you feel that was more sincere than the cynical Disney Han Solo movie. And I'm looking right now. There's a Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, A Crash of Fate. So there's these books that are like designed to like tell you the story about Galaxy's Edge, about the different characters in the Disney park, but they're the ultimate commercial property. But that feels far less insincere than the Thrawn trilogy, which I guess where's that line between storytelling versus, an evil corporation that's like just creating brand awareness and just socketing away more money? I mean, how many porgs do you own again, Asterios?
I own like 36 porgs.
One of them.
They're like all around. Like, hold on. Like, what do I got a couple here.
Porgs.
This guy, someone sent me like actually, these are two different 3D printed porgs that people have sent me. A guy sent me like a woodcut of a porg.
Are you like, should I know about your porg interests?
Yeah, I'm like a porg collector. Like, I got this little porg here. And then, hold on, let's see, there's some other. A lady in New Zealand, check this out, sent us the world's smallest porgs. It's 3 tiny porgs in a little jar. Do you see
Oh,
that?
I really did that.
Like, but to jump back to something real quick. Think about this: the guy who wrote like Han Solo at Star's End, which was like a book that came out between Star Wars and Star Wars 2.
Sure.
Like, that guy was super fucking excited to write some goddamn Han Solo stories. He was like, "Oh shit, I'd love to write some." And the guy that made Timothy Zahn, that guy was like fucking. He had a boner for a year. He's like, "Well, you want me to write the Star Wars stories? Yeah, I'll write these Star Wars things."
You explain what like the Clone Wars were? You know?
Yeah, exactly. And then like, look, you're gonna tell me that what was his name? Opie from Mayberry. What's the name of the director? Ron Howard.
Oh yeah.
He didn't tell me like it's Ron Howard's like was his big dream to like direct half of Solo.
I think his big dream was to have a movie in the box office that was like #1 because throughout his prolific career, there was like always like a sort of like a hatch where they would always like never cross 250 million worldwide or something. Yep. Because he was like happy. He was like, "This is my highest grossing film ever. Why can't more people be happy for me?"
Yeah, and it's like yeah, you know,
let's
even with JJ, like JJ turned it down a lot. He was like, "I don't want to do Star Wars," and they were like, "How about we give you enough money to buy humans?" Like
JJ didn't have a desire to do Star Wars.
He turned it down initially.
He turned it down originally, and that's why he like. Think about this: if he really wanted, if it was this guy's lifelong dream to do Star Wars, he would have directed all 3 of them.
Yeah.
He was like, "I'll create a bunch of things, and now it's everyone else's problem." It's like, what are you doing, JJ?
What happens if we drive a dump truck filled with gold? Will you come back and do it? Well, I guess I will.
Yeah, and then the only reason he came back for the 3rd one was because it was like some sort of like dick measuring contest. Like him and another director.
Ryan Johnson fired some shots at you. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah, exactly. And then Rian Johnson makes Knives Out, and now everyone's talking about that. And like, it's amazing. It's like Rian Johnson. Now all of a sudden we like Rian Johnson. Like 3 years ago, we all wanted to kill that guy.
This may be against popular opinion. I kind of liked The Last Jedi.
I liked
a little bit.
I liked a lot.
I liked it better than Force Awakens.
I liked it a lot.
And I liked the direction it was going.
Oh my god, it's much better than because at least it's trying new things. Like, yeah, it's not always succeeding.
Yeah.
It felt like a movie of not trying things. Literally didn't show up to the end of the movie and died from a force aneurysm. Like, I'm not kidding.
But the thing is, I like that because it's the first time ever
that someone had a
Skywalker. It's the first time ever Luke Skywalker has been interesting to me. It's like, perfect man Luke. It's like,
he's imperfect. He got his arm cut off being imperfect. Come on.
Yeah, that's only because he was like a doofus who tried. He got his arm cut off because he was trying to save his friends. Mr. Goody Two Shoes. Like, how about you listen to Yoda? If he'd listened to Yoda, he would have been fine. Don't forget,
he listened to Yoda,
doesn't do shit in Cloud City except lose his hand.
He lost his hand, found out that his dad is actually Hitler in space, and that his okay. We're all
like Mr. Goody. He's all like, "I'm gonna sip my blue milk. I'm gonna rescue a lady." Oh, friendship's more important than a 700-year-old like guy who clearly knows what he's doing. But then in The Last Jedi, it's like, oh shit.
I guess I'll on this nipple over here.
And like, oh shit, Luke Skywalker tried to kill his nephew. What did he do? Luke Skywalker tried to like murder his nephew in his sleep. Well, you got my attention. You got my attention.
He didn't try to murder his nephew. He tried to shank a kid while he was sleeping. Let's just call it what it was. All right, that doesn't make it more interesting. That makes you a psychopath.
Why do you think true crime is the most profitable genre right now? Because it's like, these are some interesting people. Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, hey, have you ever heard of Asterios? Kokkinos? Of course you haven't. Nobody has. Everybody knows who Jeffrey Dahmer is.
I don't know who Jeffrey Dahmer is.
Oh, you gotta learn about that now. Hold on. Let me pull up this. You'll love this guy.
I don't want a link. I don't want a link. Jeffrey
Oh,
Dahmer.
I'm looking it up right now.
The internet is a dark enough place here.
Oh, that guy looks.
I think Bowen would like a second to rebuttal. He has a few thoughts for you, Asterios.
I'm listening.
What?
I was setting you up for a rebuttal so you could just go into it.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'm gonna go get the computer plug because I've exhausted my computer. So if you could give me just one moment, I'll be right.
Hey,
Okay.
while he's gone, his connection is kind of intermittent.
Yeah,
Anything we can do about that? Because I'm not hearing him.
He kind of cuts in and out a little bit. I think today is particularly bad, but
we've done it with him before, and it was pretty solid then. So I don't know what's going on in California.
Also, have you seen the YouTube? We all look like monsters.
yeah.
I'm trying to resize it. I'm terrible at this.
How did this happen? How?
This is
Why do we look like monsters?
lobsters. This is Isaac's doing. This is he stretches things when he's not supposed to stretch things.
I'm not a graphic designer. I will never be a graphic designer.
All of our usernames are covered up by the play button and the this button and the that. How am I supposed to get myself? How am I supposed to get some action over here?
You're saying you were. I don't know. I've got a full signal here.
Oh, you sound a lot better now.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe
You were cutting in and out a little bit.
You were still there, but yeah, your connection was a little bit shoddy. But wait, so now that you have a power plug, you were getting ready to get into some real juicy stuff.
Talk to us.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, Asterios, look, everybody is entitled to their opinion. We live in America. We're all, adults and whatnot. However, what I will never forgive Star Wars is the loss of Luke Skywalker, especially because talking about the expanded universe, you had endless opportunities to explore that character. Either it's his relationship with Mara Jade, when he starts trying to rebuild the Jedi Temple and becomes the reborn Emperor's second in command. He becomes Darth Vader at some point. He's a guy that accidentally screwed around with his sister in Splinter in a Mind's Eye. And then they retconned.
Again? How many times does he have to teach you this lesson, old man Luke? She's your sister, not to kiss her.
Anyway. I guess doing something new, I understand the novelty of it, but it would be like if Gandalf had suddenly decided to become King of Gondor. It's just I don't really think that Gandalf would ever want to be King of Gondor, let alone be particularly good at it,
Right, exactly. We all thought that Saruman the White would stay white forever.
All right, that's a really good point.
But that's actually a really interesting thought experiment for Gandalf. Sorry.
But executed better, right?
Oh.
If Luke Skywalker had... Okay, I haven't read the books. I don't know. I know who he was. I don't know who he became, literally. But between Return of the Jedi and The Last Jedi, he is a guy that filled with hope, right? Wants to ultimately finds out that the power of friendship, right? Even though his father, mentors, etc., are all dead, it's okay. He's still got the power of friendship. And then somewhere after that, the New Republic is created. He starts training Jedi. And then he sees something bad in his nephew.
He finds out his nephew's going to be Hitler, too.
Well, wait a minute. But he comes from Hitler 1. His dad is Hitler 1. And
he tried to kill that guy, too. A lot. He tried to slice that guy up with a laser sword.
No, he didn't. He dragged him.
Oh, yeah, he did.
In Return of the Jedi,
It's like a Ginsu 9000 up in that piece.
Luke Skywalker had pity on Hitler, Space Hitler #1. Okay? But you're telling me that Space Hitler number 2, who might have been 12 years old, he was like, "Oh no, I gotta put the pillow over on this little kid." You know, like it just, you got to give me more than that. Somebody doesn't wake up one day and if I when Greg and I were roommates in college, if I found out one day like, oh, Greg is one day going to become Jeffrey Dahmer, dude. Yeah.
I know who that is
now. The old 1-2 stabbing my dude. Look, really? Everyone here who would kill baby Hitler, raise your hands. Exact case closed. The guy was going to become baby Hitler.
How do you know?
Like maybe actually, I might raise him to be a little bit different. I might try and kidnap him.
Well, maybe you can teach him better. Maybe turn him not to be Hitler.
Oh, what if you know you're a shitty dad who will fuck that up?
You and I both know that the Force is not absolutes. Only a Sith deals in absolutes, right? So, if that's the universe that we live in, then Luke Skywalker deciding to shiv a teenager while he's sleeping just feels a little bit like a stretch. Now, hold up. If, and I don't know if this is the case, but if that was what Luke Skywalker didn't do, that Luke Skywalker had the opportunity to stop Space Hitler 2 from becoming Jeffrey Dahmer, we're on a tangent, but and that's what drove him insane, then I'm on board. Then it's failure. Then, like, you know how you kept on trying to say that Darth Vader was actually a good guy, that underneath all of the murdering children and wiping out planets, like he's actually my dad and he's a good guy, and then you were right at the end of that story. Then you see it happening again with your nephew and you try the same thing, but this time you fail. Dude, I'm with you through all Porg merchandising opportunities and lines on Disney. You know, I would do it. However, if it's just like, I get the inkling that this guy might be bad, that doesn't sound like Luke.
It's not an inkling, it's the Force.
Wait.
This guy gets visions of the future. And he sees baby Hitler. And he's like, maybe I can stab him real quick. And then Luke's big problem is he loses his nerve. His lightsaber goes soft. He's like, maybe I shouldn't kill baby Hitler. And that gives baby Hitler that second of hesitation is why we lose 5 planets. Kylo Ren killed 5 planets in The Force Awakens. 5. Or one little twist, and there's a lot less names on that list.
Kylo Ren is not responsible for basically anything anywhere near as dastardly as his grandfather. And he really should have deserved a little bit more murdering kids, blowing up planets. He didn't open fire on the 5 planets of the New Republic. That was that redhead general. Somebody correct me.
No, I think you're right. He didn't fire the thing. It was General Hux.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
He was only a member of General Hux's military organization and General Hux's boss. Now, if there had been a scene where Kylo Ren was like, "You did what? Star Killer Base did what? Oh, I never signed off on this. Oh, we're in." That didn't happen.
That movie is all about like okay, so Finn, for example, is literally the argument of like, I was just the janitor at Auschwitz. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
You know, like
at least he's a janitor who's trying to make amends a little bit.
Honest, I'm not.
He's a janitor who's like abandoning his janitor post.
Greg, sorry, serious what?
Look, if I'm being honest, I think Finn owes a couple of people an apology because he's clearly like some sort of brainwashed murder squad kid, and then he's got the Force, and then it breaks the brainwashing. It's like that's the problem with the brainwashed troopers. It's like they're just poor innocent kids. But speaking of innocent kids getting murdered, here's how many planets Darth Vader's responsible for destroying. 1, Alderaan. Here's how many planets Kylo Ren's responsible for destroying. 6. 5 in The Force Awakens. 1, that cool smuggler planet in the last Skywalker, and there were a lot of cool people there. God forbid Babu Frick had been on that planet when it died. We'd all be very upset. It's like Kylo Ren. He's got more blood on his hands. You know what would have washed that blood right off? Quick twist of the lightsaber right in his butt. And then just say it was an accident. Oh, like Butterfingers. Luke, my metal hand. My metal hand had Butterfingers.
I think that's a different understanding of who Luke Skywalker was. He doesn't strike me as somebody that would smother a kid in his bed.
And that's why it's the only interesting thing he's ever done. And it's such a failure. He feels so ashamed that he almost like took the life of his nephew that he has to go hide for like 50 years. And he's like renounced the Force and he's drinking green milk straight from the tibby. And it's like, yeah, he becomes like a fucked up Jeffrey Dahmer style crazy guy. And it's like, that's interesting to me.
But he's got the EverQuest tree that he has that the fish nuns have built around and everything. And inside of the tree, it's like, oh yeah, those are the Jedi manuscripts that I totally don't care anything about. But then Force Yoda shows up and starts a fight. It's endless contradictions.
Exactly? But Walter White, think about this. Wouldn't it make sense for Walter White to have thrown out that book of poetry? Yeah. Walter White's a brilliant genius who went from Mr. Chips to Scarface. Why did he keep the book of poetry?
I'm sorry, but Luke Skywalker is not a sociopath.
He tried to kill a little kid. That's pretty crazy.
Luke Skywalker's whole thing is being an empath. He cares about everybody too much, which is why he left his training to go save his friends, ultimately failed, and ended up losing his hand. Like, that is you don't find that interesting? I mean,
I think that makes him every other hero. It's like a hero.
Every other hero would have succeeded. He failed.
Not in Act 2. Like, every other hero wouldn't have succeeded in Act 2. Like, it's a 3-act story, but like, yeah, Luke Skywalker, literally in one of the books, they have him drinking hot chocolate. It's like, hey, he's like an adult man. But like, we constantly infantilize Luke Skywalker. And that's why I thought in The Last Jedi, it's like, oh,
wait. He's got a pretty intense PG relationship with Mara Jade throughout, like, 7 years of them like chasing each other around.
They clearly only have sex for procreation in the missionary position. He's a literal missionary. He's a literal monk. What do you think he's going around the corner to see where the fudge is made?
They might hold hands every now and then too. Like, I think they love each other.
I'm going to agree with you that Luke Skywalker is consistently infantilized as much as Scott from the X-Men, Leonardo from the Ninja Turtles. There's a certain archetype of Captain America, right?
Yes.
So I will say that he definitely fills in that archetype of, I don't know what you want to call it, like the John the Baptist type guy. Like, he can't do anything wrong, right?
He's Jesus. He's space Jesus. And it's like, how many times have I seen this Jesus character? He's all over this book, the Bible. Like, but that's the reason we like Han Solo. Like, think about in Battlestar Galactica. Who do you like, Starbuck or Lee Adama? They don't, because Lee Adama is like the goody-goody hero, they have to keep giving him different jobs. It's like, you're the vice president of the colonies. Like, now you're a lawyer. Now you're this. Because it's like, it's hard to write for just a goody-goody hero.
Sure. But I mean, he's also an alcoholic. He's cheating on his wife.
Lee Adama?
Yeah. Wait. In the new Battlestar Galactica?
Yes.
Yeah, no, eventually he puts in a whole bunch of weight, remember? When like the war
Exactly. That is the exact way you know they don't know what to do with that character. They're like, what if he gets fat? Can we get 3 episodes out of that? Like, another great example is Captain America. Like, with Captain America, they never know what to do with that character because he's such a goody-goody. So like, how about he's 80 years old? What if he was in Hydra? What if Captain America was African American for a while? And it's like, yeah, they don't know what to do with Steve Rogers.
But wait a minute. But that's that. I think that there's a value in that, though. Every archetypal story in Western history has your Jesus Christ character.
I know, and they're always the boring one. There's a reason the best captain is Cisco, and it's because he murders Senator Vreenak. You think Picard would have murdered Vreenak?
Wait a
I don't
minute.
think Picard would have murdered Vreenak.
You're shooting bullets at Picard now. Picard eventually turns into a Borg and is responsible for the death of hundreds, if not millions.
That's not his fault. He got killed. They stuck the thing in his neck.
Cisco's wife.
And even then, he's like fighting it the whole time. He's like, sleep, Data, sleep, sleep. And it's like, okay, you're a good guy. God forbid they would have turned Cisco into a Borg. The Alpha Quadrant would have been toast.
But see, now this is interesting. It seems like you want there's a desire for you to have an anti-hero as the lead character instead. So I guess to bring it back to the Mandalorian, at some point, do you want Mando to start beating Baby Yoda?
Well, if Baby Yoda gets out of line, but I mean, the thing that makes Mando interesting is that he gives up that baby first, and like it's even kind of hard. He's talking to Werner Herzog, and he's like, "What are you going to do with that baby I just gave you?" And Werner Herzog's like, "I believe it's against the terms of your profession to ask what we shall do with the baby, but we're going to eat his goo." And it's like, and he's like, "Okay." And then he like goes and he gets his armor made, and then only then it's like that's what makes Mando more interesting. If Mando had immediately found out that it was a baby and then not brought him to Werner Herzog, he would be a boring character.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I don't find like Luke Skywalker. I mean, like let's put the shoe on the other foot. If Luke Skywalker is on Dagobah and he's doing a handstand and he gets a vision, right, and he sees that his friends are in trouble, that they're going to die if he doesn't leave. Mm-hmm. Your counter argument to what would make him more interesting if he goes, well, sometimes you got to go. I mean, COVID's going to kill 95% of the people with it. These are just the weaklings. This is how we make a better human race, right? My friends are going to die, but I'm going to become a Jedi Knight and I'm going to kill the Emperor. You think that would have been a more interesting choice than I'm going to fly into the face of certain death to rescue the people that are important to me, especially because two of them have saved my life in the last couple of years. Like Han Solo saved him from the trench run, Leia saved them from the Death Star, right? Mm-hmm. I would hope that if I saved Isaac's life at some point in our lives, when I'm in trouble, hopefully not being held up by Space Hitler, that I get saved that Isaac will come and save me. The idea of Isaac leading a more interesting life if he just like gets the phone call and goes, no. I find that really worrying in terms of like from a literal like sociological cultural perspective. I find that worrying that our heroes should be bigger assholes.
Well, that's one way to look at it, and like obviously the Empire Strikes Back is like an incredibly interesting movie. Sure. Like, because it deals with failure, which is one of the reasons I like The Last Jedi, because it's like, oh shit, how's this old man going to deal with his biggest failure? You know, but if Luke Skywalker had said they would want me to stay here and train, I need to make sure that their sacrifices weren't for nothing. And then when he runs into them later, they were like, "You didn't try to save us? What the fuck is wrong with you?" And that had been like an interesting conflict that had propelled the third movie. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say that would be better, but I'm also not going to say that would be bad. Like, sure. I want to see characters have conflict. Like, I want to see characters fight.
Oh, but he doesn't fight at the end of that movie, though.
No, he does. He tries to kill Space Hitler. Until like an old man is like, if you kill Space Hitler, that would be great for me.
No, I'm talking about The Last Jedi when he Skype battles his way in.
Oh, yeah. I think that is a cool end to his arc. It's Luke saying, I've got to clean up my mess.
But he doesn't. He literally doesn't clean up his mess because he is a hologram projected across thousands of light years to show up to not show up.
But he saves the rebellion. I mean, they can get out of there.
How does he save the rebellion, though? There's only 10 guys left in the ship.
People hang out of the Millennium Falcon.
Well, how about this? If he hadn't have done that, they never would have gotten out of that cave.
Maybe they shouldn't have. I have a really sneaking suspicion that after watching the new Star Wars, that the rebellion are actually terrorists. I mean, if you look at it, right, the New Republic and the Resistance are two completely different entities, and they don't communicate with each other. And if anything, the Resistance might actually be like kind of like an ad hoc, militia, right? The Republic gets blown up, the Resistance is being hunted after, and then they eventually get found out on planet Salt or whatever, and they put out the signal. Princess Leia, who saved the galaxy, puts out a distress call, and literally nobody shows up. No one. No, everybody goes like, oh God, those people are still fighting? Nah, I'm not going, And what does that mean for resistance movements? Meanwhile, in my mind, because I'm a person that lives in linear time, I remember growing up thinking the rebels, they're awesome. Everybody wants to be a rebel because everybody thinks that space Nazis are bad, right? So
yeah.
So I want my heroes. We need heroes. I don't see very many heroes in The Last Jedi.
Well, if you think about like the kind of formula that they were going for with the original trilogy, it's New Hope ends on a high note, Empire Strikes Back on a lower note because the heroes have failed for the most part, and then for the third movie, a high note. It's kind of similar thing they're playing in the sequel trilogy.
But that's not what happens in the new one. It's we end on a high note, we end on a high note, we end on a high note.
I would say The Last Jedi was pretty mediocre note, like in terms of like, Luke Skywalker dies, most of the rebel resistant fleet.
Force grabs his mop and keeps cleaning the floor. Rey is more powerful than ever, and it now embodies all of the Jedi teachings in the Millennium Falcon, the coolest ship in the galaxy.
But you could
ice back, it's a pretty high note.
I disagree. I think most of the resistance are like fleeing.
I think
from
in context of the movie, if you take it practically, yes, it ends on a low note, but I think Boman is right. The movie plays like it's a high note in the terms of like there's hope in the galaxy. Luke restored hope and all this cool stuff.
Rey's last quote, line is like flirting with what's his name?
Finn?
No. Poe. Like it ends with a flirtation, like, hey, I've heard a lot about you. I hear you're like a Jedi or something. I fly ships really well. We should talk. That's basically how it ends. It ends with people flirting.
It's I think that The Last Jedi has a lot of problems. I think that watching the Resistance get murdered one by one and then having no one come to rescue them, it's like, hey guys, we just saw 5 planets get killed 6 days ago. You really don't want to help Princess Leia? Have you met Princess Leia? She's pretty cool. I think that I think The Last Jedi has a lot of problems. This is one of the things I just happen to think that Luke, Rey, and Kylo work. Everything that happens out in space with the Resistance fleet is terrible. Everything that happens is terrible. I've already seen that. It was called 33. It was the pilot to Battlestar Galactica. They keep a fleet keeps getting chased and slowly winnowed down. And also the thing where it's I don't know if I can trust Admiral Holdo. It's how many times have I seen that where it's I don't know if I can trust the new admiral, and then the lesson is I can. It was all so small and bad, but I don't think that the fact that the Last Jedi has problems means that the Luke arc is all fucked up. I like what they were doing with his character. Just
I like the
other shit wrong with it.
I don't mind the idea that you get a cantankerous old crazy guy living with a bunch of fish women. I don't mind it, but you got to give me more than like I just really needed to shiv that little kid.
Well, wait, can I intercede for a second? Because this whole discussion kind of reminds me of like the big debate over Game of Thrones, the final season, where Daenerys, where
God, bring all kinds of nerd bases.
Well, the whole idea is that like she's the big twist that'll probably happen in the book, and it sounds like something George R. R. Martin had been planning from the beginning, was to turn her into the ultimate final villain. And it almost kind of works. The only problem is in that 5th episode, she has everything she wanted. She's killed all the opposition. She basically did not listen to her advisors, and it worked out just fine. She killed all the bad guys. The city is hers. All she needed to do is go and eat Cersei, and then that's it. She wins. She's the queen. But for pretty much no reason, no provocation, she just burns the city. And you needed kind of like that final thing, like maybe Grey Worm or her assistant gets killed by people from King's Landing, and then she's like, fuck it. If this is all I've been doing for you, then, you can all just burn into hell. Versus just kind of looking awkwardly, and then just,
I could burn a city. So wait. So what's your? I guess what's your?
Well, I was comparing her because, like, you're saying that, like, Luke Skywalker, you don't mind the old crazy man, but you just needed a better justification than like, I want to kill this kid.
I feel like a vision of the future, no matter where it's coming from, is kind of like a very small domino to topple the empathetic good guy Jesus character that I grew up with. I guess I would have preferred more an erosion rather than just like flipped a switch. Like, oh, this kid is bad, kill him. Like I would have preferred that.
Like a more backstory to that.
I'm not that guy either. Look, you look with good screenwriting, you can accomplish world building in less than in one line. I mean, just look at the Clone Wars, right? Okay. Leia says, like, my father and you served together in the Clone Wars. That spread all kinds of, like, what the heck were the Clone Wars? Clearly they were important. All these heroes came together. Now they're all old and kind of crazy. Like, what happened, right? There are ways of building a world where you don't have to be like, well, let me tell you that if you have a midichlorian count of over 25, you are, in fact, a Jedi. Come to this clinic at 5, you don't need to do that. And I'm not asking anybody to do that. And I'm not asking the Mandalorian to do that. I'm not asking for the backstory of Clan Mandalore or something, but maybe tell me what's up with you guys all living in the same place if only one of you is allowed to go out. And maybe tell me what are you building toward? Like, are you guys trying to find now, I know that the planet Mandalore, I think, is destroyed, right? So are you guys trying to find a new homeworld? Is that why you guys seem to all be bounty hunters? Because you can kill more people if you're a mercenary. If all it is to be a Mandalorian is to be a guy that kills people, there are easier ways of doing that. You guys are all bounty hunters.
Well, apparently Boba Fett wasn't a true Mandalorian.
I don't want to talk about Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
I don't want to talk about Boba.
But Boba Fett or Django, I don't think Django was a Mandalorian either. But
Boba Fett is.
What were they then?
I think they were basically bounty hunters dressed in Mandalorian armor.
They were posers?
They were posers, yeah.
Posers? Oh, space stolen valor. I don't like that.
There are so many trains coming together on one track to smash into each other. It's a waste of time.
I didn't know you were had that much of an opinion about Boba Fett.
My favorite story of Boba Fett was when you find out that his name was Jaster Muriel.
Oh, I like that one too.
And it was a flyaway short story. I think maybe like 20 pages. And it takes place in Tales from Jabba's Palace. And Jabba the Hutt, in between the events of when Leia tried to smuggle her way in to her getting turned into like his plaything on the sky barge, Jabba the Hutt gives her as a gift to Boba Fett, that he can do whatever he wants to Princess Leia. And the story is told from Boba Fett's perspective, and he's sitting in this dark apartment where he lives because he works for Jabba the Hutt, and he's taken all of his armor off, and he's just sitting in the dark, I think doing drugs, right? Right, Greg? He's doing spice.
It's been a long time. I don't remember that scene too well.
He's doing spice. And when Leia is there...
I'm pretty sure he doesn't do drugs, though.
I think
he's not a drug addict, dude.
Oh, come on. Dude, Han Solo was a drug runner, so... But before they changed it in Solo.
No offense, he's a pretty stoic, like straight edge guy, I think. That's basically his defining character trait.
I'll find out. But at the end of the day, you find out for the first time a little bit of Boba Fett's code of honor and where he comes from. And you basically find out that he's a disgraced lawman and that he killed his partner and he became a bounty hunter. And the reason why he doesn't work for the rebellion is that, and he says it, the rebels are breaking the law. You guys are like, the law of the galaxy is the Empire. And you guys are a bunch of criminals. So yeah, I hunt you for a living. And it was this wonderful, like really tragic story where he's also like kind of opening up to Leia, like, and Leia is opening up to, they're trying to get on the same page and they can't. And it's a beautiful story. I'd recommend anybody to read it. But then he turned into Jango Fett clone that is not aging that is aging at a normal rate. And then Jango Fett's not really a Mandalorian, so they're kind of like stealing somebody's. I don't know. It's just it turned into too much.
That's interesting. So you really love that sort of like tragic element to the old Boba Fett, which kind of got retconned.
I totally understand what Asterios is saying. I want tragic characters. I love tragic characters. What's the point of following somebody who's perfect? I wouldn't say Luke Skywalker was perfect. I would say that Rey is perfect. Rey never had a bad day in her life. She was happy collecting garbage in the desert. And she was happy hanging out with Chewie, getting on the Millennium Falcon for their last adventure. She never had a bad day.
Yeah. Oh god.
But you think one bad day would have helped to sell the sort of turn of Luke in The Last Jedi?
Yeah, give me some bad days. I want to know what it's like for.
What if Kylo killed one of his students?
There you go. There, that's a throwaway line right there. Heck, why stop there? Kylo killed all of his students. There are no other Jedi in these movies. Like Darth Vader killed a room full of children. Like Kylo Ren killed a room full of children. The bar for being evil in Star Wars is pretty low.
Yeah, but that's not Luke's fault. Like, that's just Luke reacting to something bad that someone else did.
What's
interesting is that, like, Luke, like, it's like, there's a reason that, like, people, okay, so, like, we're all saying, like, Luke is like Jesus. It's like, yeah, he's like space Jesus.
Yeah, I mean,
what it is. Like, everyone's favorite Jesus story is when Jesus went into, like, a temple where there were a bunch of moneylenders and started flipping over tables and shit. Like, remember when, like, Jesus hulked out on all the moneylenders? It's like, that's interesting. Because, like, oh, Mr. Son of God. Oh, Mr. Peace. Oh, forgive. Turn the other cheek. It's like, now he's turning tables over. Now that's interesting. Now we got drama.
Sure. I just feel like you could have picked better drama.
All right,
but maybe that's just a preference thing.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, it's like, yeah, shiv that kid, like, but like not everybody has to want to shiv a kid. Like, that's, it's a personal preference.
I'll take it. I'll take that. Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Exactly. Some people like kids, not me. But some people do. Yeah. Whatever. That's life.
But look, I would say that, The Mandalorian is super interesting. Pedro Pascal is an incredible. The whole cast is amazing. I do hope season 2 relaxes a little bit. I don't need a mission of the week.
So you'd rather have an ongoing storyline? Because since we've been going on for 2 hours, and I'm loving this. I love seeing you two go. I knew you would give me fantastic entertainment. So thank you for coming. But I guess to sort of like have a good endpoint and good guidance for what you want to see in season 2 of The Mandalorian. What was your favorite episode of the first season, and what was your least favorite? Starting with Boman, then going to Asterios.
I hear Asterios is he's convinced me of a couple things today.
I think my favorite episode of The Mandalorian is the one where he decides that he's going to keep that baby, because you see him turn on, like, it's one thing to like say like I left behind everyone I ever loved and everyone who ever loved me. Like, it's another thing to like to see him like literally have them have to abandon ship and have what's his name turn on him, the Apollo Creed. I just thought that whole thing was interesting. That whole goddamn episode.
I think it's episode 4.
Really?
Grief Karga, that's his name.
Oh wait, and did you have a least favorite episode of The Mandalorian, Asterios, before we move on to Boman?
Yeah, the one where they have to like train a bunch of villagers how to fight. It's just like, okay. It's just, I just feel like I've seen that before, you know?
Literally, I've seen it a dozen times before, and it always works out. Like, turns out a group of hardened pirate, mercenary, Viking rapists. All you need is 20 minutes of a karate class, and they're actually, pretty easy to topple.
So wait,
also, it really bugged me that they were aliens. And one of the big things of Star Wars that I always liked is that the rebels are clearly the good guys because they're diverse and have girls on their team. And the Imperials are a bunch of white guys with English accents who hate aliens and women. It was really easy for me. I really understood which team I wanted to be on. And I don't like that I didn't like in that episode how the bad guys were a bunch of aliens.
Alien orc guys?
Yeah, it's kind of...
Wait, I thought you said you liked episode 4, though.
Oh, no. I was asking what episode it was...
right. That he didn't like.
No. The episode where he decides to...
That's the third one.
Is it the third one? Okay, yeah. I would say that... his showdown in the alley where Apollo Creed is trying to, like, say, like, hey, man, like, don't do this. Like, you're my best earner. Like, what are you doing? Like, just give us the baby, man. Give us the baby and walk away. You've done this 100 times before. And he chooses not to. I think it's a great moment. Yeah. And I thought it was really cool that all of the Mandalorians came out of hiding and, like, blasted everything to Kingdom Come.
Yeah, that was a fun moment.
I just wanted them to, okay, you did that, but then they're gone. They just disappear. Except for the
Warsmith?
The Warsmith. Except, the Warsmith decided to stay, and I just thought that I don't know, take your Warsmith with you. Like, you came out of hiding, you blew up a bunch of people, take your Warsmith with you. Or let them be wiped out completely. I don't know, whatever. I don't want to spend time trying to tell somebody else's story. I liked episode 3 as well, and the one I disliked the most was the prison.
Really? That's interesting. I don't think it was the strongest, but I thought like the two middle sections were the weakest, and the prison was slightly. Well, that comes to like something I'm always annoyed about is like Disney grit, where like the Mandalorian is a gritty universe, but it can't get too gritty because it has to still be family friendly. It's kind of like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
I think that's BS. Yeah. No, I mean, like we're on a prison ship that has like some of the most like evil creatures in the New Republic. So clearly, probably a lot of like ex-Imperials are probably on that ship. And I felt like it was just a wasted opportunity to explore that world. Also, robot guards. No, make them people. Like, you're killing guards so you can do a prison break. Don't do the like, oh, they're just a bunch of robots. Like, no, come on.
So the Mandalorian could still be a good guy, but yeah, I guess that's an example of like artificially taking away the grit, so Mando can still be, nice, happy guy. All right, so episode. I agree with Asterios and Boman. I think episode 3 was the strongest one. I also really liked the episode where they introduced who's the Grand Moff guy, played by the Breaking Bad villain.
Herzog.
No, the
Herzog. Giancarlo Moff Gideon.
Yeah, Moff Gideon.
Moff.
He's a character who I really want to love. Like, he's played by like one of the best TV actors who played one of the best, TV villains from like the past decade. And I was like, all right, I'm totally on board. But I feel like he didn't quite earn that place. But episode 3 felt like it was like the show firing as close as it was in terms of like him having a good arc, real great hero moment with the Mandalorians coming to stick out for their guy. The episode I hated the most was the 5th one, the Gunslinger, where it just felt like a waste of time, and the guy was like obnoxious, and it felt like there was no point to his obnoxious. He didn't learn anything, and he kind of like betrayed him in the most contrived, uninteresting way. That one just felt like a big waste of time.
And I guess that's one of the reasons why I'm hoping that they go away from the video game RPG feeling, because it feels like it's just you have a main quest and then you have side quests. And you can just jump to the main quest, but you're probably not going to have enough stuff to beat the bad guy. So you do these side quests to like earn more credits and get more abilities and more tactical gear, and then you go. I hope that they go away from that.
So you're just hoping for a more serialized narrative where there's less like little train the villagers and. I
don't think anybody. I just don't think we need that. I mean. To me, South Park became the best when there was a cohesive storyline between all of the episodes. And I think Rick and Morty is amazing because not only is there an A story and a B story, but there's this weird C story that's like creeping up on you every couple of episodes that nobody talk like. It's every 5th episode or something that you'll peek behind the veil, and I really get interested in that stuff. I don't need a flavor of the week. Me personally, I don't.
Sorry, which thing was this that you're mentioning?
You're talking about Rick and Morty and how there's this like overall C storyline with the evil Morty that comes in every season.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Season there's like a little bit more about evil Morty.
And Greg, what your favorite episode and least favorite episode?
My favorite episode. It's a little bit. I feel a little bit. A different opinion about Mandalorian, but second episode is probably my favorite, where they introduce the assassin droid, and they're rescuing Baby Yoda for the first time before they knew it was a baby Yoda.
I think that's the first episode.
No, it's second.
No, it's the first.
No, the second episode because it's after he gets the horse thing.
Oh, is it the?
I'm pretty sure it's the first episode. That's the one when they introduce the assassin droid, and then the second episode is where he has the rhinoceros fight and he kills Jawas.
Oh no, you're right.
Okay, yeah.
By the way, killing Jawas.
That's pretty fun. Like, that was a really great like introduction into like the Star Wars bounty hunting universe. I loved how like he had to think on his feet, like to team up with this random droid to kill all these mercenaries. It just felt so like nostalgic of like old Star Wars books of like random people in the Star Wars.
Worked with Boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Things like that is just really, really felt awesome.
And your least favorite episode?
Least favorite episode would be probably the training the villagers to fight the ATST.
No one likes that one.
It's like, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but
it felt very Sci-Fi Channel-y.
Yeah.
It felt like a Stargate SG-1.
Yes, exactly.
And we kind of forgot about the villagers at the end of that episode, and no one gave a shit after that. So, but I think Mandalorian for me, it's about surviving in this gritty bounty hunting Star Wars universe. Like, this universe is just so like diverse and interesting that just like surviving in it, and like coming up with scenarios to survive in it, I think makes it the most appealing show.
Wait, it's your favorite show?
It's my favorite Star Wars media in a long time.
All right, because there's a lot. I mean, have you seen Friends? Have you heard of how
that's surviving in a different setting.
I'm never going to forget that Asterios, by the way.
How is that for the rules? Love that show. All right. Hey, well, let's wrap this up because it's late.
Yeah.
I got work tomorrow.
Well, thank you so much for thank you for giving me your thoughts on The Mandalorian. It was a pleasure having you all on. I hope you enjoyed each other's company. I certainly enjoyed dragging you all together, even if you didn't enjoy each other's company.
Oh no, Asterios, it was
fun. Fun.
You. I think Isaac wanted us to like say, "I'm going to find you and kill you in real life," or something. But no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed our talk immensely, and you made me think about a lot of things I hadn't considered.
Yeah, you're weird, Isaac. Be cool.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.